right, hell yeah. So this is my first 56-inch paddle. And it definitely feels really good. And what I notice most about shorter paddles is when you're in this position, it almost feels like you can pull, almost like a tug of war. It feels like you have a lot more strength this way, just because this hand is so far down. And in R1, you're going to do a lot of draw strokes. And I've avoided these just because if I'm way up here with my paddle, it's just this isn't doing anything. It's almost the opposite. And then it's very difficult just to pull this paddle through the water like that. And so with a shorter blade, these draw strokes, you're more just out there kind of pulling. And again, I think the tug of war analogy is pretty good. So what I'm going to show you is that here's a 60-inch paddle. This would be the kayak test for a paddle. So I would hold this paddle pretty close to like right here. And let's say I did that. Let's treat this as a kayak paddle. The other hand's going to be right here. And this is what I actually noticed looking up paddle lengths of kayak paddles, is that their effective length probably is under 60 inches. This is a 60-inch paddle. This is where I would grip it. And then this is where I would get my momentum and power from, like right there. So the T-grip should be right there. And if that's the case, it's very similar. So even with a kayak paddle, you might be under that 56-inch mark. So here's a 57-inch paddle. And there's a noticeable difference, even with just this inch, reducing it down to 56. And the reason that I chose 56 is because I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on a Warner either Carbon or a Warner Bandito. So it's either the Warner Bandit Carbon. I think it makes more sense. There's plenty of strength and lightweight to their fiberglass series with the Bandit and the Bandito. But the 56-inch length was what I was interested with, just because I have a 60-inch Bandit, and it's almost too much paddle. Like it's too good because it's like it grips too well. You get too much force, and that becomes exhausting at a point. Where I've noticed just with the classic Carlisle paddles, I think what's happening is the water doesn't grip up as much. It kind of flows around, and you're more in the process of moving water less efficiently. And that gives you, just, I think, a benefit, because our boats have so much resistance that anytime that I've actually put a paddle in and you actually feel like it's cemented in, usually a good thing in like rafting, commercial rafting and kayaking. Not a good thing R1ing for me. I'm always like, oh, hell no. And then I'm taking surface strokes to just move that water. Moving water next to a boat creates a potential difference. And I'm thinking you can actually get more, drive if you actually just move water with a couple quick strokes at the surface next to the boat, and you're getting that potential. There's a lot of different things. In R1, I've never felt like if I got my paddle in and it felt like cement, that was ever a good thing. And so, hell yeah. Especially the draw strokes. You're out here, holy Toledo. Again, this is real high. Hopefully you can kind of see everything in this footage. But hell yeah. And this just feels more like I'm grabbing something and I'm pulling it like this. If I had to grab something and pull it like this, this is the stance I would want to be. This is okay. That's another good test. So if I'm going to pull something this way, this is still a bit wide. I would rather pull this and have this hand like this. And that's the same thing with the draw stroke. Grab the 60-inch paddle, and if I had to pull this way, yeah, this is very weak. I'm not pulling directly into my body, so this is just a huge wide stance, especially because the R1, you're reaching out and you're doing a lot of pulling motions. Even the forward stroke is more of a pull, and even this arc to drive your stroke, yes, this makes a lot of sense. I don't know, like, it is taller at 60 inches. You potentially can get more advantage, but here I feel like I'm driving and then able to pull at the same time, and I think there could be a big advantage. Now, I've already, this is my staple, a 57-inch Carlisle. I'll be able to try this, you know what I mean? I'm not going to knock this because this was a find, and it's 57 inches. And because you don't have any plastic wrap, substantial weight difference. I think this is the outfitter. The standard paddles are lighter. This is the economy and much, much lighter. So hell yes, this is 57. But the 57-inch paddle is now my go-to. You know what I mean? I was just rocking the 60 just because that's what I thought you would want, and I never thought to, go higher in length or shorter in length. But now, trying to dial it in, especially with a lot of the rotational moves, because I'm taking my hand off the paddle and transitioning from switching sides from one side to another. Definite, and then rotational inertia, you know what I mean? An extra inch is going to have huge amounts of rotational inertia going from one side to another. And so, hell yeah. So that also is the reduction in paddle length that I'm looking forward to. So hell yeah. All right, we did it. We have our first 56-inch paddle. Again, I tried a 54. I just lost it. That was a little bit short. The 54 fell short in the Carlisle. And what I noticed that, hey, if you do go short, maybe you want to up your blade width. And this has a nice beefier blade. Because the 54-inch Carlisle, I felt like the pry was definitely weak. Like, it was just like, hey, this is a great paddle for drawing. That felt amazing. Because, again, it's like pulling this way. Or like pulling like a tug of war. But hell yeah. So I'm thinking like the Warner Bandit Carbon is very intriguing to me at 56 inches, and it's got a big wide paddle blade that I think short enough and then big enough paddle to get all the pry that you need. All right, so hell yeah. So it's a video. Thanks for joining me. Booyah.